The Ministry of Defence has initiated action for the cancellation of contracts for the procurement of 12 AW101 helicopters for the use of VVIPs. The MoD has issued a formal show cause notice to AgustaWestland of UK seeking the cancellation of the contract and taking other actions as per the terms of the contract and the Integrity Pact. The government has issued a 3-page show cause notice to AgustaWestland with provisions of DPP that allows the scrapping of the deal. Failure to provide satisfactory response will result in a formal scrapping of the contract. This will result in returning 3 delivered helicopters, full reimbursement and financial penalties. The Ministry of Defence had already put on hold further payments to the company on Wednesday. With today's show cause notice, the operation of the contract has now been put on hold. The company has been asked to reply to the notice in 7 days. Well, let me in fact get in Gaurav Sawant for all the latest on the story. Gaurav, huge implications. Finally, the Ministry of Defence, in fact, issuing a so-called notice saying that the deal will be scrapped if there's no logical explanation to the sequence of events.
Indeed, this is a major development. It's just sad that this development comes almost 1 year too late. The show cause notice issued to Finmeccanica clearly states in case they've used middlemen, then this deal automatically gets scrapped. The integrity clause, which was introduced in all defense acquisitions, very clearly say neither parties will breach the contract. The seller will not use middlemen. Middlemen are banned in India, and it very categorically states, and I have that integrity clause right in front of me here, Rukmini. It says the buyer and the bidder agree to enter into this pre-contract agreement under which this integrity CAG to avoid all forms of corruption. But 1 year long investigations in Italy have indicated that there was corruption in this deal. Middlemen were paid money. That money was funneled into India. Who received that money in India is something that India should have investigated, should have started investigating 1 year ago. That did not happen, but after this huge public outcry, the government is finally invoking this integrity clause. It's a welcome step, but a bit too late.
All right, let me also get in Shiv Arur, who's tracking all the latest on the story. Shiv, clearly the government has been under tremendous pressure to act on this case ever since allegations have been coming out left, right and center, especially with the budget session around the corner.
That is correct, Rukmini. This is the final, the harshest action that the government can take in the circumstances. They've gone ahead and bitten the bullet. They've sent a show cause notice, which I understand is a 3-page letter invoking several different clauses of the defense procurement procedure, where they have actually given AgustaWestland exactly 7 days, including weekends, including all other days, 7 days to respond and show cause as to why this deal should not be scrapped. My information from my sources within the MoD is the process has already been initiated, because it would not have been initiated in this manner if the Ministry of Defence did not already have reasonable cause to actually invoke those clauses and initiate the scrapping process. So what we're actually seeing, Rukmini, are the death throes of the VVIP helicopter deal. More than 3,000 million euros was spent on this particular 3,000 million euros was spent on this particular 500 million euros was spent on this particular contract. 3 aircraft have already been delivered to the Palam Air Force Station. They're flying as usual now, training pilots, but this could be the final moments of that particular deal.
Right, Gaurav, let me come back to you. Not entirely unusual that the government is under pressure, like we've been saying, that they've not really waited for a formal report from the CBI before they've taken this action.
Well, that would have been too late, waiting for a CBI report, because CBI is still waiting for all the paperwork to begin. And as former CBI directors and several sources within the CBI are telling us that it will take years to find out, if corruption actually happened in this case or not. For 1 year, independent prosecutors in Italy have been investigating this case, and they seem to have evidence to indicate that money was paid in India, money was brought into India through shell companies, fake bills were generated, money, they have named a former chief of air staff. We don't know if it's true or not, or whether his cousins were involved in this deal. But very clearly here, Rukmini, India still remains the loser. 55% of the total contract money has already been paid to Finmeccanica. 55% of that money Only 3 helicopters have been received so far. Remaining 9 were to be received between now and July. That delivery will not take place. How will the money come back, if at all, remains the big question.
Right, Shiv, coming back to you, what happens now that the show cause notice has been sent, and if there is no viable explanation, and if the government decides to go ahead and scrap the deal, what are going to be the implications of this move?
Very simple. The 3 aircraft that have been delivered will be, packed into an aircraft and sent back to Italy or the United Kingdom where they came from. All payments that have been made so far by India will be returned with interest, and there will be a financial penalty that will be imposed on Italy and the United Kingdom for the supply of this particular, this particular deal and the execution of this deal, which has been done in complete violation if they don't have satisfactory answers to the defense procurement procedure and the several different provisions that have been invoked as part of this show cause notice to AgustaWestland. So, the results, it's a good question. If the Ministry of Defense is not satisfied with this, with the response from AgustaWestland, then this is not only going to be the death of the deal, this is going to mean the 3 helicopters that have come will be sent back, and the entire process, this is the most, surreal part about all of this. The entire process, which actually first began in 1999,
yes,
14 years ago, will have to be restarted, aborted, and started all over again. And untold hundreds of crores of rupees have already been spent by the Indian government in just the acquisition process. The helicopters aside, the process itself has cost a huge amount of money.
Shiv, the bigger disaster remains, why was this integrity clause invoked now? For 1 year, you've been tracking the story, you've been reporting on what has been happening with the Italian investigators for 1 whole year. What happened every time you put a question to Defense Minister A.K. Antony on this issue? Why was this integrity clause not invoked earlier?
Absolutely, Gaurav. The simple fact that the government has, very, very conspicuously sat on its hands, done pretty much nothing. They've done all the superficial stuff. They've, written to the Ministry of External Affairs. They've asked the embassy in Rome to, try and help out with details. The one thing they haven't done is bite the bullet and order a full-fledged inquiry. Inquiries happen all the time while deals are being executed. So, if the Ministry of Defense says, another country was involved, there were diplomatic, considerations to, take care of, nobody is going to buy that, because at this time, while we're talking about thousands of crores that have been paid, perhaps in commissions
yes,
to swing this particular deal,
yes,
A.K. Antony's position in this becomes less and less tenable and more suspicious, because
yes,
11 months is a huge amount of time. You and I have both reported contracts, Gaurav, where Antony has shown remarkable alacrity to crack down and show some form of probity.
yes,
Somehow that's been missing in this. It's a selective application of transparency.
This indeed is, and Jugal, what is the explanation that the Ministry of Defense is offering today? Why is this being done now? Why wasn't this done earlier? All of this information, barring one arrest of the CEO, all of this information has been in public domain for a year now.
Absolutely, Gaurav. In fact, sources within the Ministry of Defense have been at pains over the last entire week in trying to actually make us buy their theory that the arrest of the CEO of Finmeccanica was perhaps the only first credible step that happened as far as this investigation is concerned, only going to show how lame their excuses are. The Ministry of Defense, in fact, from last Tuesday onwards, has been on the offensive. On the first day, it came out with its demand of having the CBI to investigate the entire case. The next day came out the white paper, which we brought first to our viewers, and now we see that they've actually gone ahead and issued a show cause notice with an actual threat of cancelling this. Shiv, Gaurav, at this time we must also look at the fact of the case, which also pertains to the aspect of the requirement. We've spoken to several of the air chiefs of the past. They've said that there is a genuine need as far as replacing the old helicopters are concerned. What happens to that? This is clearly a deal where even if we get the money somehow, it will be a difficult process, but if we get the money somehow, our requirements still will not be met, and who's going to be guilty for this?
Absolutely.
Air Chief Marshal,
yes, you're absolutely right, and Rukmini, India loses face, India loses credibility. That look at the amount of corruption that you have former Italian Prime Minister Berlusconi say it's a norm, corruption is a norm in a third world country like India.